What's up, nerds? The Immortal Nerd here, and welcome back to the last and final episode of Attack on March Madness. I hope you guys have been enjoying the ride thus far. This final episode of Attack on March Madness is going to be comprised of four episodes. When I went back and checked, it was an undivisible number of total episodes by 3. So this last one, I had to squeeze in the last episode, which was episode 22. So this is comprised of 19, 20, 21, and 22. So even though these last 4 episodes are, the plateau of the series, or when it's dying down for this season of the series, there's still a lot of information in this as well. So this may be just as long as the last one because we'll get right into it. So yeah, starting off where we left off last, Armin, he's the one that gets the colossal titan powers instead of Irvin. So with that, Armin has a lot to do as far as being this ideal or symbol of the scouts since of the situation that happened, and kind of the same thing for Hanji as well, because even before this took in place, when Irvin, when he was taken into custody and when he was presumably going to be executed, he was like, Hanji was next in line to take his title, and then it would be so on and so on if something happened to Hanji. So on paper, Hanji is the next, I won't say the next Irvin, but she has taken Irvin's place as commander of the scouts. So she's the one on paper that actually has the authority and the leadership to do or try to do what Irvin did, or do something in her own way to be the best leader that she can be for the scouts. Armin, on the other hand, has the burden of carrying on the life of Irvin, since he was chosen over Irvin to come back alive. So he's really feeling that. But for the 19th episode, it starts off with this. It looks like a dream of some sort that Armin is having. You see the colossal titan, which was Bertolt. It looks like he's staring down at Armin, and he's like crying. He's talking about, this hurts, it hurts, or whatever. Really don't know what that could mean. But Armin, he finally wakes up, and he's what's going on? So Aaron, he's there, and he lets everybody else know that Armin is alive, or awake in this case. And Levi tells Aaron to fill Armin in on what happened, because when you get turned into a pure titan and change back into a human, when you consume an intelligent titan, some of your memories are gone. I don't know if that's a side effect of you being not of royal blood, or if that's the case for everybody, whether you're royal blood or not. But in this case, it's only seemed to happen if you're not of royal blood. I can't remember if when King Rice was talking about it, if he said anything about if Historia was become a royal blood. I mean, well, she is a royal blood, but if Historia was become a titan, that she would have still have her memory because of the lineage of it being for royal blood. That I don't remember. I had to look back at it, but yeah, Armin's memory was wiped, and it was his memory that was wiped was from the point that when Bertolt transformed and caused that big explosion where it seemed like everybody died. That's where his memory stopped at. So I'm like, wow, like he was conscious for all of that, and it wiped that out. So I don't know if it's anything along the lines of a certain time period or if it varies. Again, I really don't know that. But yeah, they filled him in on what happened, you know, including, they Levi chose him instead of Irvin, and he was like, why? Like it was the most logical choice to choose Irvin instead of me. So, and I'm like, I agree. I agreed. But yeah, they was like, yeah, don't worry about it, whatever. We shouldn't have to choose to begin with. It was just, your friends ended up, you know, creating this mutiny on wanting to revive you, but still in the end, I chose to revive you. Or, as Levi said, I chose this to be the resting place for Irvin. So that's kind of how he's been looking at it. And he was telling Armin to, don't let us regret the decisions that we made today, and don't regret yourself, because that's just going to make us regret what we did, and we should have done this and we should have done that, and we won't be able to get our job done. So don't regret anything. Don't let us regret anything. Keep pushing forward, because that is what we do as scouts. So after they got that situation, they got Armin up to speed. Mikasa, Aaron, Levi, and Hanji, they went to Aaron's house. So finally, they went to go see what was down there in that cellar. So they reached it. They was able to go inside Aaron's father's doctor office or lab or whatever. And at first glance, it doesn't seem like there is anything that will stick out or to suggest anything unusual that will lead to information about the Titans. So they started looking around to see if there could be any type of secret, levers or other compartments of whatever that was hidden that may lead to what they're looking for. While they were searching for a while, until Mikasa stumbles upon I forget what it was, but she picks up something and ends up knocking down a cup, and it kind of triggers this flashback of her giving Grisha some coffee or tea or whatever in the cup, whenever he goes down there, and if it's an all-nighter or whatever. And she goes to pick it up, and when she does, she sees a keyhole on the side. It looked like it's on the side of his work desk, and they figured that this keyhole belongs to the key that Aaron has, and they go to try it, and it works. It opens up the drawer, and you see that there's nothing in there, supposedly, but it was a false bottom. It had a false bottom in there. Levi opened it up, and you see these 3 books. Now, I don't know if the color has anything to do with these books, but they were, I think it was red, black, and green. Red, black, and green. Yeah. So, in one of the books, I don't remember what color it was, Aaron opened it up, and on the first page, you see a picture. Now, they don't know it's a picture, but they think it's a drawing, but it's not a drawing, but an actual a picture. And they figured this out because of the writing on the back of the picture, and it's of Grisha's handwriting, and he's talking about what this is. And it goes on to say that there are many other type of things like this, and even more from where I come from. And whoever's reading this book, I hope that they are, what he says, a fellow patriot. And that is how episode 19 ends. So what I do, I want to go back to this piece, because this is going to be like a deep dive, since this is my final episode for the attack on March Madness. So, and again, a lot of stuff was going down in here because we get to learn about Grisha's past and how he lived up into, he was found by Commandant Shadis. So the picture you see, it's of him, a woman, and a child. Now you see, the woman is not Aaron's mom, and this child is definitely not Aaron. So it's like, who are these people? Like, what? All right, you got some explaining to do. What's going on? Yeah, that's how episode 20 starts. So Grisha, he's talking about his life, all the way from when he was a kid till he ended up on a paradis, which is what which is this island that Aaron and everybody else is on. They're on an island called Paradis. So I'll get into all of that later. But yeah, Grisha starts out by talking about a moment in time from when he was a child. And that moment in time was when he took his sister, Faye, beyond the walls of where they lived. So where they lived was called Marley. I think that's what it was called. The country or whatever that they lived in was called Marley. So that is a part of a different continent, if you will. So that was separated from the Paradis Island. So that's where he was originally from. And he took his sister beyond the walls because she wanted to see the air blimp, or the other word that's used for, I can't remember, but yeah, she wanted to see that, and it ended up flying past the walls, and she was like upset about it. And then and there he made up his mind to break the rules. So he went beyond the walls, because if you wanted to go beyond the walls, you had to have like a permit. And you see this when they go past or run past, there's a line of people and like this officer or military police there, and he's checking like what it looks like passports in order for people to go through. So it kind of do look like a concentration camp a little bit, or a FEMA camp or whatever. But again, I'll get to that in a little bit as well. But he ends up taking his sister past the wall to end up to go see this the air blip. And once they get there, they are noticed by two officers that are also there. They're laying down on just chilling or whatever. Looks like they on break, and they get caught. And one of the guys is like, "So, what y'all doing here?" And like, we just wanted to see the blip or whatever. They're like, "Oh, okay. So where's your passport at?" And Grisha's like, "We don't have a passport." And the police officer guy was like, "Well, if you don't have a passport, then you came here illegally. And you know what we do to Eldians?" That's what Grisha and his family and others call that lives inside of the wall. They're called Eldians. And so we do to Eldians that come here without a passport and illegally. You're like, "So which one you want?" You got two options. You can get a beating or labor. I think that's what it was. And Grisha chose a beating. And he also took up he wanted to take up his sister's punishment as well for a beating, because he says that he dragged her there, that she really didn't want to go, but he forced her to. So then that's him being a big brother. Good job. So he gets his beating. He gets his ass beat. And the other officer that was with the first one beating up Aaron, he takes Aaron's sister on home. So once Aaron finished getting his beating, he was going to leave and go home too. But the officer that just beat him, he was like, "Wait, where you going?" He said, "Didn't you want to see the airship or air blip? Might as well see it now. While you're here, you already got your beating. So you might as well see it." So he sat down and and was looking at it. So after that, he goes back home, and Well, he doesn't go back home yet. As he was going home, he see his sister lying dead across the riverbank, like she's dead. And we know, and he also knows or believes, strongly believes, that the guy that was taking his sister home had something to do with it, that killed her. Don't know exactly how, but he, had something to do with his sister's death. And they took him back home, and they reported, the incident. And the guy that did, kill his sister, we know he did it. He was pretty much lying to his parents on what happened. He was like, I showed the girl home. After that, I don't know what happened. I'm a very busy man. So after she left my custody, anything could have happened. But, obviously he was lying because he wasn't doing anything when Grisha and Faye got found out. Anyway, as he was talking to Grisha's parents, he was telling them, I'm surprised, or talking to the father directly, I'm surprised you haven't told your son about, what you people are, you Eldians, about y'all sins or whatever, and how y'all should be, grateful that we even, are tolerating y'all being here. So again, you can see that there's this thing here, this prejudice or discrimination against these people, these Eldians, the Marleyans, who are, what this guy is, and the others that are outside the walls, or they may be inside. They don't really, show it visually. But yeah, there are two different groups here, Marleyans and Eldians. So the Marleyans do not like the Eldians. And it goes on, or we figured that out through this history lesson that Grisha's father is giving him because of, he needs to, repent or whatever. The Eldians somehow started war with the Marleyans, and their I guess goddess or whatever, or their first Eldian queen, Ymir, has struck a deal with the devil to obtain, these 9 powers of the Titans. So these are where the Titans came from. This deal made, with the devil by Ymir. So she used those powers, those 9 powers of the Titans, gave them to, the 9 people who she thought worthy, I believe. And they waged a war on the Marleyans. And, oppressed them, killed the, men, women, and child, and all that stuff. So the Marleyans ended up, stealing 7 of the Titan powers and used those, against the Eldians. So this was the Great Titan War. First great white shark. No sharks here, but the first great Titan War. And the Marleyans beat the Eldians. So for this, the Eldians, or the first royal blood of the Eldians, the king and some of his people fled to this island, and this island was Paradis. So that island Paradis is now where Aaron and all of them are at now. So they are descendants of the first king. Everybody that lived there, they are the first. They are descendants of the king, Eldian king, first Eldian king that fled there from the war, and he left the rest of the Eldians on the main island with the Marleyans. Excuse me. So what the Marleyans did was say, like, okay, we're not gonna exterminate you all, but we're gonna set you up in this little camp, again, this concentration or FEMA camp or whatever you want to call it. So they were pretty much slaves of war, pretty much, and that's how they lived the rest of their lives. But there were some who still wanted to fight on, who wanted to take back, because they believed that Ymir was of righteousness, that she was a child of God or whatever, and those powers that she had gotten was to help the people to bridge a new world together. But that's the stories that they that they've seen and they've been told, and these are seen from pictures and artifacts and stuff that you can see. And Grisha, he finds this out, and he gets into this this revolution himself, or I should say the restorationists. That's what they're called. He gets into this group because one day he was like 18 now. One day he saw this client, because he's a doctor now. He was following his father's footstep. And this guy came in and he had like a scar on his shoulder, and Grisha, questioned him about what it was. And he said, this is the mark, of a fellow patriot or of a patriot. And he's like, a patriot? What are you talking about? And the guy tells Grisha, there's something that you need to hear about how your sister died, because he had information on, what happens to his sister. Like your sister's death, that was a fact. Like, that's not a lie. Like, she died, and we know, who did it and how, it was done. And they ended up telling him, the restorationists told Grisha, how his sister died. The guy that took her home, he fed her to his dogs. And we don't find out later that his sons was there as well, watching as the dogs, ripped her to pieces pretty much. And that's just, it was crazy. It was crazy. He was, needless to say, he was pissed about this. So with this fueled rage, he ended up joining the restorationists to overthrow the Marleyans to get back, what was theirs. So the reason why they knew this information, because they had somebody on the inside with the Marleyans, and he was called the Owl. So they had somebody on the inside, feeding them all this information in order to help the restorationists, take back what was theirs for Eldia. And so all of this is going on. So you learn a little bit more about Grisha, what he was doing, and that's how they found out what was really true, in a sense, on who Ymir was. That she wasn't, a devil who made a deal with the devil with these Titan powers. That she was actually given these powers, from God, and to help, build things, build roads, bridges, and and all these other things, to help, nature and humanity, and not, all this other stuff that the Marleyans was telling us in these, books and stuff. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting to see. Also, we get to meet this woman who was the last line of the royal blood for Eldia on the main island. So she was the last one. So it was like, if she died, that was it. There's no more royal blood Eldians, on the main island. And by now we know that only people of royal blood can use the full powers of, the Titans. So her name was Dinah Fritz. I almost forgot her name, but her name was Dinah Fritz. And Grisha, saw her and was like, pretty much, dang, she fine. Like, so if I'm not gonna shoot my shot, but if it happens, then it happens. We hook up, and that's pretty much what happens. They hook up. They get married. They have a kid. So their kid name, peep this. Their kid name was Zeke. Yes. So I know what you're thinking. It's probably a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. This is the same Zeke, the war chief, aka the Beast Titan, that we see in present day that's trying to get Eren the coordinate. This is the same person. So these two, Zeke and Eren, they are brothers. They are brothers. Now, we don't know what makes Dinah to Eren, just somebody that my dad married before he married my mom. That's all that really is. She's not really a stepmother because she came before Eren's mom. If anything, Eren's mom would be stepmom to Zeke. So that's about it. But yeah, these two are brothers. I'm like, What? I like, you crazy. I like, that's crazy. I like, but it makes sense because he was talking about when Zeke met Aaron, he was like, "You don't look anything like your father." So it was like he had to know. He knew Aaron's dad somehow, and we know just how much he knew him. And it was, because that was his daddy too. Like he had a whole nother kid, a whole nother family, before he came to Paradis. So how he ended up coming to Paradis? Like why was his dad doing these things? And by these things, I'm talking about, from Aaron's memory in the beginning when, he came to King Rice and his family and ended up killing everybody or whatever. So how he ended up in Paradis? He ended up in Paradis because, again, Paradis is an island separated from the mainland of Marley or whatever. So you can only get there by boat. Of course, they had boats because they were, pretty advanced in technology or whatever. But you don't just go there to go there. You go there to serve a punishment. So Grisha, he had to have been, he was punished for something. So what he was punished for was treason. So how did he get found out? How did he get found out by the Marleyan police? Well, Zeke told on him. Yeah, Zeke. He was just a kid, probably about the same age as Grisha when his father was, teaching him about, the Eldian sin and then how that they needed to be grateful that they're even living here. Yeah. His own son, ratted him out. And the reason why he did this was because when he got to that certain age, Grisha and Dinah, they wanted to make their son also a spy for the Marleyan police. Because at this time, the Marleyan police wanted Eldians to be recruited to have one of the powers of the seven Titan powers that they possess, because they was going to go on a mission to Paradis for what they call resources because they were lacking in some. But in actuality, they were going to Paradis to get the powers of the founding Titan so they can, end this all, so they can squash it, so they can kill the Eldians pretty much all the way. So that's what they were really going there for. And that's the same exact plan that the Restorationists had. They was going to go there and get the powers of the founding Titan to, to take back, what was theirs. So they had the same goal in mind. So they was like, all right, we're going to take our son. We're going to have our son go there because none of us can do it because, we're going to get caught on too easily. So they had their son. They were going to have their son join this raid or mission that the Marleyan police wanted the Eldians to be a part of. So they was training him pretty much, putting him through a crash course on what was the truth and what was, a lie. And at this point, he was already being taught, by the Marleyans already. So putting their child through this, through this revelation, it didn't go well. It did not go well. Some may believe that he was, afraid, or it was just too much, too out there. It was, impossible to be. But he ended up ratting out his parents, and it was crazy. Like I really didn't see that coming. Like, oh my God, you son of a bitch. But yeah. So it was crazy. So they ended up getting a capture, Grisha and Dinah, and the rest of the restorationists. They ended up getting captured and taken to Paradis. So this is how Grisha landed on, Paradis. But where they first arrived, because there's a port, and at the port, everybody gets lined up, and for their punishment, they spend the rest of their lives roaming, that island as Titans. So their punishment is to get, turned into Titans and roam the lands forever as, the true demons or devils that they are, because they're Eldians. So we see where some of the Titans we met in season 1 came from. They were part of the Restorationists. So like the guy that looked like Santa Claus, that had the white beard or whatever, yeah, he was one of the Restorationists. The one that looked like a girl, yeah, that was a guy. He got turned into a Titan. So that kind of makes that chibi Attack on Titan anime show a little weird, because there was a episode where that particular Titan that looked like a girl had a crush on somebody. I think it was Jean or Connie. It was one of those. So that's okay. Not my thing, but that's yours. Hey, have at it. But they didn't know. They didn't know either. It looked like a girl, so but still I wouldn't want to mess with it because it's a Titan. But anyway. Yeah, so we get to see how the Titans that we saw in season 1 came to be. They were actual humans as well that got, they were punished for, these crimes that the Marleyans, had set in place. So they were fellow patriots, they were fellow Eldians. They were, brothers in arms. So that was very interesting to see. So next was Dinah, Grisha's wife. She's there, and she's about to get turned into a Titan. Now, this is crazy. I'm going to tell you why. Because when she gets turned into a Titan, because again, I said we get to see where the Titans in the season 1 came from. She was a part of that group of Titans in season 1. And the Titan that she was the one that killed Aaron's mom. And the same one that killed Hannes. Yeah, that was her. She was the Smiling Titan. That everybody called her. That was the name we gave her, the Smiling Titan. So I was like, oh, that's crazy. But that it also made sense for me right there at that part. Aaron didn't find out till later on. But it made sense to me at that point, because it all clicked together on why Aaron was able to control the Titans at that point when the Smiling Titan was coming for them, and he, tried to, punch her. So when he was in contact with that Titan, the Smiling Titan, which was Dinah Fritz, aka a person of royal blood, he was able to activate, the full powers of the founding Titan. So that's how he was able to control all those other Titans and, ended up killing her. So yeah, I like that. That makes sense now, because only a person of royal blood can activate the full powers of the founding Titan. Aaron was touching her with his fist and to her hand. That was the only way that it activated. And it all started coming together, because when King Rice and Historia touched Aaron's back, something activated within Aaron. He was able to access the memories, of his father. So that's something only, somebody of royal blood would be able to do once they inherit, Titan's powers from the predecessor. They have all these memories of who came before them. They're able to access it better than others who aren't of royal blood. So yeah, this was all crazy. It was all crazy. She was the Smiling Titan, and I was like, I guess it kind of makes sense on why she ate Aaron's mom. I mean, besides the fact that she was, a Titan and they just ate people just to eat them. But before she got turned into a Titan, she was talking to Grisha. So like, no matter what form I take, I will always find you. So this is kind of a little theory of mine, that Grisha's scent was around there, and I guess she started looking around for him, but she ended up finding, Aaron's mom, and she ate her. But yeah, that was kind of that's a little theory I have on, why she ended up at that spot anyway, and so happened to find Aaron's mom and ate her. That's because from what she said, no matter what form she took, she will always find Grisha, and his scent was, around that place, and she, recognized it. So that was the only reason why she came there, because otherwise she could have roamed off anywhere else, but she chose to be there. So yeah, that was pretty neat. That was pretty neat. After that, while Grisha, he sees his wife, transform into a Titan, the guy that turned her into the Titan was the same guy that, killed his sister, by having his dogs go at her. It's the same guy. And he was like, yeah, I remember you and stuff. And we find out he has like a very interesting perspective on the world. He what I want to say, he goes about saying he doesn't mind peace, like he likes peace, for humanity, like, so it's a wonderful thing, but it gets boring at times. So I experiment, or I'm interested in the field of, death and whatever. So he started talking about, it's interesting to him. It's like he doesn't like it or don't hate it. It's just interesting. So that's why he does what he does. And he talked about what Grisha asked him, so even though you do this stuff, you don't feel like remorse or whatever. And the guy is like, well, I can see what you're trying to, ask me or whatever. If what happened to my children happened to, if the same thing would happen to your sister, I will feel sad, as well. But, it didn't happen to mine. It's pretty much what he was saying. But on the other hand, he says, if death did come for me, I would, I'll pretty much be ready, because I've seen death so much, and I understand it, I understand, life and death. So if it comes for me, it'll come for me, I'll have no fear about it. So with that, Grisha's like, F you, all this, his anger, came back, whatever. And the guy, he was going to throw Grisha down there, because he turned one of his other comrades into a Titan, and he was going to have Grisha go down there and fight him, but most likely be eaten alive. And he took Grisha, by the neck, and was going to push him down there. But right before he got to the guy that had Grisha, he pushed down that other guy. I forget what his name is. Gross? I think that's what his name was. Gross. Yeah. Marley and Police Gross. He pushed him down there. And that was like, what? And that got me thinking he's the owl. Like, he's the owl. And it was right. I was right. He was the owl. He was the inside guy, inside the Marleyan police. And the owl was the same guy that gave Grisha that ass whooping when he was little. The same guy that ripped his fingers off while they was interrogating him to find out who the owl was. The same guy that has been injecting his fellow comrades or patriots with Titan fluids to become Titans, have them roam Paradis, for eternity. Like, it's that same, he's the same guy. And he was talking to Grisha. He was like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you the power of one of the 9, referring to the Titan powers. And he had the owl. He had the attack Titan power. That's what his Titan was called. This is the same Titan power that he gave to Grisha, which is the same Titan power that Eren has now. So we know the official name for the Titan that Eren has is the attack Titan. So Grisha sees the owl, killing the rest of the Marleyan police that are there. And when he reverts back to his human form, he talks to Grisha about, a certain mission that he wants him to fulfill. Now, going back to the present, we see Mikasa and Aaron, they're being released 10 days early from their jail cell. And it was because, there's a meeting coming up. The new queen, Historia, had came to Tross, and it was pretty much going to be a debriefing on what went down at Shingeki. So while they're getting ready, we go to Historia already, and she's reading that letter that she got that was written from Ymir. And it was pretty much a love letter, so it was nothing really there that was of any importance. But after she finished reading it, when she touches it, she places her palm on it. She gets these memories of Ymir. So the same thing that happened when she touched Aaron happened now. She's getting these memories of Ymir, and it's kind of hard to tell, what was going on because it was doing it really fast, and so we don't know if these was memories before they killed Ymir, because she was going to be executed, or if these was past memories, way before, because she tells us in season 2 that she was actually living around 60 years ago, to that time, so she's old. But it was one scene they showed us she was chained up like Aaron was on the ground before she was about to be eaten, and she was and she was dressed in the white gowns the people of royal blood would have been, and it was hold on, is this the Ymir that they was talking about back in the day, or what is this, what timeline is this, is this way in the past, or was this now before she was executed? So it's I don't I really couldn't put it together there, but it was very, very interesting to see. So after that, Aaron and them, they finally meet up, and it was time for them to talk about what happened. So the 3 books, the red, green, and the black one, they do have different information in them. One is about the early life of Grisha. The other book, the second book, is about the knowledge of the Titans and their history. And the third book is about the world outside of the walls that they're living in. So the world outside the wall, life outside the walls of Paradis. So these 3 books contain all of these information that Grisha wrote down. So after the ceremony, there was a medal thing going on. They was being handed out medals for a job well done. And before this happens, Flock, the guy that carried Commander Irvin on his back so he can be revived, he had some words to say to him, and he was this. Everybody's thinking the same thing that I've been thinking. It should have been Irvin that was saved and not Armin. Everybody's thinking it, and you guys just disgust me. And he was calling out everybody in the group, and it was mainly the people of the 104th Cadet Corps, the ones that we mainly seen, the main cast. He was calling everybody out except Mika. So he was like, at least Mika, so she gave up in the end. She wasn't being an irrational fool, because she doesn't think she always right or whatever. Because that's what he was saying about Aaron. He was saying, I bet you deep down in your core you always think you right. So that's why you always pushing forward without rationale, always wanting to get your way and stuff. So he was calling everybody out there. And I was like, okay. So, So after that little scene happened, they was getting their medals. And when it got to Aaron, because Historia, she was, handing out the medals, since, she's the queen. So the people of royalty, place these things upon their citizens. When it got to Aaron, once he gets his medal, she, hands out her hand, and he goes to kiss it, and that activates his father's memory again. And what he sees is his father begging and pleading to the king, which is now Historia's stepsister, older sister, who now has the first kings inside of her. But he's talking through her to him. He's like begging the king to to give the founding titan powers to him, or to the people of Eldia, because there's a war coming. Like, we need these powers to stop the war. And you see the look on Historia's sister's face, like, no. And that's how this fight really happened. That's the true nature of what happened. So, and I believe that because, as I said in episode 2 for this, when they activated the memories of Grisha from Eren, I felt that they were manipulated in some way, or that he was only being shown parts and not the whole. And I believe that to be so because of King Rice. He had a vendetta towards Eren's father. So when they activated his memories, only certain parts was going to be showed. And I believe that he has control of what memories Eren can see on that. So now when they got activated, there were no type of animosity towards one another. There was no wanting to get back at the other person. It was all squashed. Let bygones be bygones. So when his memories was activated from Historia, one, because of that, and two, she didn't realize that she activated those memories, because she didn't know what went on after he came back too. So that was another thing as well. So it was all unfiltered, raw memory, and he saw he saw what really happened. His father didn't come there to to kill the family. He was there. He was begging and pleading, and the king, through her sister, was like, no, nope, because again, the first king's will overrides them all. Once they take the power, they hide behind the walls, and the people's memories of Paradis are erased of the outside world. So that's how that conflict happened. So that was also pretty interesting to see. And when Eren does come to, he's like, he has this face of freakiness, like he's freaking out, like, what the heck did I just see? Like, oh my gosh. And so he's keeping this information to himself. He's not gonna tell anybody, because if they found out that if a person of royal blood can be used to activate these Fountain Titans powers, he didn't know what the military would have done to Historia. So he's trying to keep her safe. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he hasn't told anybody about this, not even Armin and Mikasa, about the Smiling Titan, or who she really was. So yeah, he's keeping this all to himself right now. So he's trying to find a way or when to tell him or whatever, but we don't really know. So after this, let's see here. Give me a minute, because I had to write all this stuff down, because it was a lot. What else? Talk about Flocked. Yes. After this, some months has passed. So winter has came. Now we're into spring. The people of Shiganshi, they're able to go back home now. So that is good. That is very good. So they end up going back home. After they got settled and good. The scouts, they go back out now to their what their original purpose were when they were made, to go outside the walls and and scout, to find of any other out there, to spread to see if there is really anything else besides us, or besides them, out there beyond the walls, because that was their original purpose when the scouts was formed. So pretty much making the small map that they had then into a bigger one. So going beyond their world into a new one. So with that, they was going. So now they know where to go because again, Aaron memories, he has those now, so he know where that port is. He know where the sea is. So they're going along the way, and once they get there, they end up, they find the sea now. So everybody, especially Army, he's happy. He's like, this is the sea and all that. It's so salty and all this stuff. Everybody playing, in the water, and you see Aaron, he's in the water as well, but he's just like staring off, across the sea, looking, where, they have to go to Marley. And he's like, yeah, you was right, Army. Ocean so big, it'll take, entire lifetime of people to get the salt out. And Armin was like, yeah, you was right too. Across the sea, theirs. And then Aaron interrupts him saying, he's like, yeah, freedom across, the sea. Or at least that's what I believed when I was younger. But I really know what's over there. What's over there is actually, despair. Pretty much the same thing that we've been living, but even worse. And we have to go over there. Like we have to end it. Like if we do go over there, if we do fight, if we do kill our enemies, will we finally have freedom? Will we finally have peace? And that's how that closes off. So with that, I do want to go back because I did mess over some stuff. And in the memories of Grisha, the attack titan, the owl, I forget what his real name was, Aaron Kruger. That's how Aaron got his name. Aaron Kruger, while he was talking to Grisha about, more about the Titans and the mission that he wanted him to do. That's what I wanted to talk about. He gave Grisha a mission. His mission was to go to the first king and take back the founding Titans' powers by force, because he knew that they weren't going to strike back. And Grisha was talking about, well, what about the the threat that he made about if they did come to start war, millions upon millions of Titans that's within the wall would come, crashing down before them. And he was like, he's not doing that. He was lying. That was just a deterrent to keep them, from causing anything. But that just only gave him, a small amount of peace, which was, they was right, because the Marlians wanted to go there to get these resources, aka the founding Titans' powers, and they already had seven of the 9 already, so they was going to go there anyway. So he wanted Grisha to go and get those Titan powers by force. But we see in Aaron's memory, he didn't go by force. He was begging and pleading, thinking, they would understand, but they didn't. But anyway, he was like, yeah, you're going to go there, take them. And obviously I'm going to have to give you my Titan powers. So that's the only way you'll be able to make it there, while all those other Titans are around, so, they won't eat you. So that's the only way you'll be able to make it. So I'm giving you my Titan powers. And before he did so, he was like, you have to fix this curse. You have to fix this in the cycle that's been going on. Because if you don't, the same thing is gonna keep happening. So find somebody there to love, marry, have kids, or whatever. He said, just find somebody. And Grisha's like, well, won't I forget anyway? What'd you tell me? He was like, Aaron Kruger told him, sometimes that's not always the case. They will be able to see it. See what? I don't know what exactly he was talking about. But he was like, just find somebody to love, to care for. They will see it. And He was like, you have to right this wrong. Like you have to do this. And he asked, Grisha asked, like, why can't you do it? And that's when this goes into, he was saying, because I can't, my time is short now, because a person that takes on these Titan powers, they only have 13 years to live. And that is due of Ymir, the first person to get these powers, these Titan powers. She only lived 13 years after she got them, and no one can overpass her or overstep her. So they only have 13 lives of years, which means Eren has like seven or 6 years of lives now. Or, so from what we know right now, there may be some type of thing where, plot armor where he doesn't die, or who knows, whatever. That's what I'm thinking that may happen. But right now, he only got 7 to 6 years to live. He's gonna die afterwards, and that was the case for Eren Kruger. This was his 13th year of living, so he could have only transformed, pretty much one time, and it had to have been, the right time to do so. So, yeah. It was like, so yeah, you gotta make this right, Grisha. You have to do this, otherwise, this endless cycle is just gonna keep going and going. You have to do this. You have to save. You have to save. You have to save our people. You have to save the life. Of our comrades, our brothers. You have to save Mikasa's life. You have to save Armin's life. And I'm like, I had to pause it real quick because I'm like, what? What did he just say? I had to rewind it. He just said Mikasa and Armin. I'm like, hold up. Don't tell me we got some type of time travel thing going on here, because I'm like, oh my gosh, what? Like, we got time travel in this now? Like, how the heck is this working now? So, and he's like, Mikasa, Armin, who are they? And Eren Kruger is like, he comes out of it and he says, I don't know. They're not from my memories. And I'm like, don't tell me. Hold up. Like, wait. Because the only way he can get those names or those memories if they came from somebody who knew Mikasa and Armin. And that's Eren Yeager. So I'm like, how? So I'm thinking, all right, how did this loop start? How did this loop start? Like, what is this? So I started thinking, I really started thinking about, the bloodline of Eren Kruger to Grisha. So I'm like, because they kind of got some similar features a little bit. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. But my thoughts won't be solidified until I go into the final season, which I'm told the first part, total of 16 episodes, will be like the first part. So that last episode will be airing Monday on Adult Swim for English dub. And there was talks about there being a part 2 or a movie that will finish it out. Excuse me. Yeah, so I'm like, this is... But the third season, that last bit, it was crazy. So it was like, we got time travel going, or time loop, I should say. We got time loops in here. The Smiling Titan was actually Eren's dad, first wife. Eren and Zeke are brothers. God dang, like, oh my gosh, like, this is so much. Like, this is crazy. Season 3 had the biggest reveals in it. And I'm pretty sure season 4 is going to have a whole lot more. Because, like, if they did kill Ymir or executed her, of course they was going to take, her Titan powers. So I'm trying to figure out who will now have them. So that's going to be interesting to see if we see it in part 1 or not of the final season. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here, you guys. It's been past the hour. So yeah, I hope y'all had like got some snacks or something along the way to keep y'all entertained. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this episode, which makes it the end of my Attack on March Madness special for this year. This was pretty good. I thought I would have had a total of 8 episodes, like I said before, because I didn't really know how many episodes entirely that part 2 had in it. I thought I would at least been able to, do 3 and another 3. Yeah, I could have done 2 and 2, but I went ahead and did it like this. Go ahead and get it out there. So, yeah, because it's perfect timing, because this is I think this is March 30th? Yeah, this is March 30th. Yeah, March 30th. Yep. So that would have been, the exact end for, March Madness. So, yeah. Thank you, guys, for watching all the way through. And if you haven't watched all the episodes, the playlist will be at the end along with Super March Madness. So click on those two if you will. I appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, you guys know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Get this out there to all the nerds in the universe, multiverse, and alternate dimensions. And I will see you in the next one. The Immortal Nerd, signing off.